Hello, everybody. I got one question for you. Do you believe in magic? What do you say, Mikey? Do you believe in magic?
I don't know whether or not I do anymore. Although I will say the start of this season is getting me a little excited. But I got to tell you, Brando, I know you try and stay positive with this stuff, so you might have
I
a different
do.
take than me. You might have a different take than me, but I think Clemmer is coming unglued. I think he's starting to come unhinged. I know he won Executive of the Year last year, but you
Right.
see some of his behavior, and I wonder when the wheels start to come off this thing. And I'm trying to stay positive like you. Maybe you can teach me because I know we're off to a hot start here. But last season, the off season, all of this stuff in the past, even if we go back a year, there's a lot of
Right.
bad taste in my mouth that I haven't, because we haven't been able to talk about it. I haven't been able to get out yet.
Yeah, I wanted to give you an outlet because I know you've been, harboring these things and
Hmm.
and we're both in therapy. We
Sure.
know we can't be pushing these things down.
Absolutely.
Sometimes your therapist, gets back to you and sometimes he doesn't, but
Well, it
that's neither
disappears.
here nor
Yeah.
there.
It
That's
doesn't
neither
matter.
here nor there. Um, a lot like both of our parental figures, but that's not what this is about. That's not what this is
No.
about. Um, so yeah, I pitched, I guess just to give everyone a rundown, I kind of pitched Mike on, oh, do you want to do kind of a recap of Clemmer's stream? Because I know you're a big fan. You're in the chat, every single time I'm in there. Sometimes I
Yeah.
can't watch live. I have to watch the replay, the regular video. But
I,
every time
I,
I've been in there live, you are firing away. I think this
I've
is
been
like,
reduced. It has eaten up part of my life. It happens to be on the days that KMS would have been. It's roughly the
right,
same amount of time. So I guess in
true.
a way, it's filled that void for me. And I've been reduced to texting the Warthog and Coleman about this. And I'm
Oh
passionate. You
boy.
can add Coleman. Coleman can prove it. I've been passionate about this.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it in the comment section and in the live chat.
Yes.
You're firing stuff away in there.
I am, but when I see things like Clemmer is doing, they need reaction. It can't all just be jerking them off. There has to
Right.
be a little pushback because otherwise, as I said on Twitter today, a chimp with a machine gun. This monkey boy is becoming. It's getting, frankly, a little worrisome. He brought in Phil Jackson, the Zen master, a guy who's won a championship, and last
Mm-hmm.
year he starts pushing him around, trying to get Nick Van Exel, his pet project, a few minutes. Like, you can't bring in a guy like that. I mean, we'll get into how dirty he did Lucas. That's a whole
Right.
nother issue I have. But then you can't sacrifice your dignity and humanity to get rid
Mm-hmm.
of Lucas after promising him a job, bring in Phil Jackson, and then start telling him what to do. I think there is a power struggle happening with the Magic. I think when they win games, things are good. But I think when they start to lose games, there's immediate panic and overreaction, namely
Mm-hmm.
the Petravic deal. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah. I think it was he kind of might have jumped the gun a little bit on the Petrovic deal there.
It was crazy.
And then Petrovic, he gets hurt game one. Was it game one? I think of the playoffs. Petrovic ends up getting hurt.
Petravic, not only has he been unreliable on the court, but when they traded for him, and I've confirmed this with sources, the reasonable minds wanted Glenn Rice or Reggie Lewis. Those are the names people kept saying. Clemmer reaches out to get Petravic. First offer they give him, he takes it. He doesn't kick the tires on Glenn Rice or Reggie Lewis. And then I find out, and these are reliable people telling me this, Brando, he didn't know when he got Petravic that it was a contract year. He didn't realize when he got Drazen Petrovic that Drazen could have walked in free agency just a few months later. So then it becomes you give up not one but two first-round picks for a guy who's about to leave. So now this is a trade where if you don't win a championship, it was a complete loss. You missed out. Then what he finds out is because he didn't do his due diligence and talk to Drazen before they got him, he finds out, oh, Drazen wants to test free agency. And then because he was such a bum with the Magic and not a real difference maker, then they come crawling back with a contract offer when he has nowhere else to go, and they re-sign him. They got on their knees for a guy who dicked him around all year. You know what happens on your knees, Brando? I'll tell you, it's nothing good. Are you there? I guess I better keep monologuing because my co-host has left. Is anyone there? Is John from Scranton there? I can do 40 minutes on the Magic if I have to.
I had to let him suffer. For a second.
Did Brando leave? Well, then I'll talk about Lucas, who was done so incredibly dirty. Clemmer promises this guy a job, says publicly, we're not firing Lucas. Lucas brings this team from 6 wins to 42 into the playoffs. By the way, they had the exact same success. You can say, oh, they had more wins with Phil Jackson. The exact same amount of success if you're judging by results. They got to the same point in the playoffs, won the same amount of games in the playoffs. So Lucas essentially did as good a job as Phil Jackson. They promise him loyalty. And then he's gone. And you can say, hey, sometimes you got to make tough moves, and I'm all for that if you're bringing in Phil Jackson. But I've confirmed again with my sources, Lucas was fired before they ever spoke to Phil Jackson.
Okay. How do I sound now, Mike?
You sound delightful, buddy. Did you hear any of that?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm fired up.
I know, it sounds like you're...
Do you understand how much crazier I sound if you're not here, Brando?
I don't know if I would be helping in this situation. It just sounds like the rants of a madman, but I appreciate the passion. I definitely do.
I thought that was the point of it. I thought we'd go back and forth a little.
No, the thing is, my charger for my laptop has shorted out. I had to put it in the position to have it just right to get it to turn on. And right when we started, it clicked to where it says like, oh, your laptop's going to die. So then I'm fiddling with that as you're ranting like a madman. And then that somehow screws up my mic. So I unplugged the mic. So now at least you can hear me because the mic was screwing up. But, shit comes at you quick. You know what I mean? So
I understand. These are the trials and tribulations of 90s AM radio in Orlando,
Yeah.
We don't have high-tech stuff here.
So we started off, if we're going off of this stream, in particular, the one that was today, we start off, the hopes are high.
Clemmer told us to clear our schedules.
Good. Clear your schedules. He's thinking, we might barely have enough time for the playoffs, and maybe we'll get to the draft, maybe we won't. Long playoff run, and then, man, they just absolutely crapped the bed.
Terrible.
They win 1 game in the first series, and they lose 3, and they go down to a 41-41 Heat team that, to me, didn't have anyone that was particularly, stand out. It was just a bunch of average Joes, it seemed like. Is that kind of where you were at?
It was a team they absolutely should have beat. I think Petravic was a cancer on this squad all year, and I think that kind of brought down the mood. And then I also wonder, because like I said while you were gone, Brando, you could say Phil Jackson won more games in the regular season. Lucas got him to the exact same point in the year. It doesn't matter if you win 42 or 53 games or however many. They crapped out at the same point of the season. Lucas got them to lose in the first round of the playoffs as well. So then you wonder, what's the Phil Jackson difference, really? It seemed like a better team on paper. You had the flashy head coach, and it brought us the same results. So now when we start 7-0 this season, I wonder, does it even matter come playoff time? Now, what I will grant you, Clemmer has done very well in the draft.
Oh, yeah.
But frankly, it's impossible not to with these picks that he's gotten. And he has maneuvered those picks to be in a good place. I think that's where Clemmer peaked, was day one of this operation, when he came in and just stockpiled picks for the next 3-4 years. And he said he knew the years that he wanted a lot of picks. And luckily, the ping pong balls have bounced the right way. aside from that, he's been unhinged with some of these moves. You heard his voice last week, and I wonder if he's been burning the candle at both ends. My people tell me he's out partying in Orlando with Lou Pearlman and his other friends down there.
Oh,
I wonder if he's been a little more play than work.
See, I'm not really sure, but it was suspect, especially after the season 2. He comes in, they have a good record. They're 53-29, and they just crapped out. I mean, now he's put together what looks like a super team. So for me, if he doesn't win the whole thing this year, then I don't know. I think you might have to replace Chris Clemmer himself.
I was close, Brando. I was close to coming on here today, and luckily, over the last few months, I've cooled down. But I was close to coming on here today and saying that if that Petravic deal didn't result in a championship, then he should be fired. Because you give up 2 first-round picks, that's your first offer. You don't go and shop other people. That's putting your balls on the line saying, we're winning a championship this year. Especially a guy in a walk year. That's not long-term thinking. That's now thinking. And they did nothing with it.
You think you jumped the gun a little bit on that one?
Absolutely. Because, and here's what really bugs me as a guy rooting for the Magic here.
The virtual Magic, yeah.
Yes, I want this upstart team to be something. Mm-hmm. Then Clemmer has the balls to say to us loyal chatters in the off season, after Glenn Rice was available at the trade deadline, Clemmer didn't even sniff at him. Then in the offseason, Clemmer says, what do you guys think about getting Glenn Rice? As if we weren't here for the entire fiasco. I mean, that's some nuts he's dangling in front of us.
I guess if nothing else, you got to say that Chris Clemmer has a huge set of balls. I'm not sure about the size of his brain. I don't know if it's similar to the size of his body, which is very small.
Sure.
But the balls on this guy are massive. You have to give him that.
Yeah.
At the least, Mike.
I'll give him that. I'll absolutely give him that. I wish you could put them together. Because like I said, early in his tenure here at the Magic, I think you were seeing a lot of brain moves. I think he got a little cocky, and there's a little too much of the balls out there on the table right now. And that's what I worry about because, like I said, Brando, he's pushing Phil Jackson around, telling him who's getting playing time. Why do you bring in Phil Jackson if that's the type of thing you're going to do? I don't really understand it. The phone lines are open, by the way. And then in the off season, that's when he really gets nuts. So let's talk. Are you ready to talk about the draft, Brando? Do you have any thoughts on the draft?
On the latest draft?
Yeah. Because everyone's all at Twitter that he got Kidd and Grant Hill, and that's terrific. Possibly 2 Hall of Famers. Who knows? But here's the issue I have with it, that people aren't holding this man's feet to the fire on, and that is that he has the number 2 pick. He trades up to get number 1. Then trades for number 3. He could have traded for number 1 and traded down for number 3. You get better value. Not to mention, the Mavericks didn't even seem to want Grant Hill or Jason Kidd. So maybe you could have gotten them both at 2 or 3. He did no due diligence on who was taking these guys where. Again, willy-nilly, this guy. He's not doing any background work. He is brazen, flying on the seat of his pants. A lot of it seems to be working for him. But what I wonder is, what happens when he faces adversity? What happens when Shaq gets hurt? What happens when, you know what I mean?
We've seen when someone gets hurt. We've seen if someone stubs their toe, the look on this guy's face. He looks like someone just shot his father again for the second time because he's already lost him once. I don't know if it was murder or not, but he gets this look in his face when he sees an injury pop up, and he's afraid to click over to see how long they're going to be out for. So I think we have a little glimpse into what we're going to see if this thing goes off the rails.
And I wonder, Brando, and I don't know if you've been suspicious about this. How many times have you seen this happen where a guy breaks his leg and he's back out there on the court 3 weeks later? I wonder about some of Clemmer's sort of moral, like, this is a thing, you know. This is a thing where is he pushing these guys out here like they're fucking racehorses? You know,
Right.
like are they under some sort of threat to get back out on the court? And that could have all sorts of long-term damage as well. So I don't know.
So you think he's about winning, and he could care less about the players? He's just worried about the win column.
Yes, and I'll tell you, when you say it like that, I do like it. I do like that we have a guy that's about winning, and that I've always respected about Chris Clemmer.
Mhm.
If that is his real name, which we'll get to.
Right.
But that I've always respected about Chris Clemmer. But win at any cost does have its drawbacks, and that's what I'm afraid of a little bit.
Sure. So for this draft, if that's what we're still on, we're kind of bouncing around a little bit here.
Sure.
He moves up. No, so he gets number 2, right? And he takes Jason Kidd with the number 2.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No,
Which I
that's
thought
not
was a good
Brando.
pick.
Brando, that's what he could have
I'm
done.
an idiot. I'm an idiot.
That's what he could have done. You're not an idiot, buddy. That's what everyone thought was going to happen. And then
Right.
this maniac starts throwing draft picks all over the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sorry. He traded his 2 and his 17 to move up to 1 to get Jason Kidd. That's correct, right?
That is correct, yes.
That's what it was.
Then the Mavericks don't take Grant Hill at number 2.
Right.
He
was
tried
like
doing a
3 or
trade with the
4.
Mavericks.
Mhm.
They don't even want Grant Hill.
It
So
might
he
have been a
did
slight
he did no
miscalculation.
legwork on who these teams wanted.
No, I guess he didn't do his research in this one. I mean, I can't really argue with that. And then he went out after that, and he went and got the other guy there. He ends up getting Grant Hill. He gives up the Caballos guy there and 2 more first round picks.
Yeah, he's treating first round picks like Tic Tacs, frankly.
Yep.
He's just popping them. It doesn't matter. They can go to waste. No worries. Now, here's another thing I will say is that he has stockpiled picks in a way where he's pretty well set for the future and the present. But what I worry about Clemmer is I don't know. I don't trust him to handle the salary cap. Every time we get to free agency, there's all sorts of maneuvers you have to do just to keep it close to the salary cap. So what happens when all these top 3 picks, you now have 4 top 3 picks in your starting lineup, all on their first deal. What happens when you start to have to re-sign Shaq, re-sign Alonzo, re-sign Grant Hill, re-sign Jason Kidd? The point of having this young nucleus is to keep them all together. Nick Van Exel, also a first-round pick.
Yep.
You want to keep this young nucleus together. How are you going to be able to possibly do it in a few years? So it is it's a tightrope act that he's performing now, where it is a win now while rebuilding mentality. He's brought in no real veterans. He didn't look at a guy like Larry Bird for the last couple of years of his deal to bring in some veteran leadership. He never really cares about guys like that. One thing I will give him credit for in free agency, and granted, this guy did fall in his lap, but I think Charles Oakley was a fantastic signing.
I thought that was good as well.
Yeah.
He's
I think Charles Oakley gives that bench something it's never had before.
Balls.
Absolutely.
All right, a little bit of gumption.
Yeah.
What for?
Some get up and go.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I think this team on paper, should do very well, and just how poorly they ended the last season. With the great regular season, they're outperforming expectations, and they just absolutely pissed down their leg. It was. I didn't even know if I was thinking about sending you a message and saying, Mike, I don't know if we have to just cancel the show. It started off so badly.
Well, no, I'm glad you kept it going
back.
because I had to get this off my chest.
Yeah, clearly. I think have you talked about this with your therapist before?
I haven't. It hasn't come up. Maybe it should. I will say a lot of people will watch the time that you were off screen and think maybe this man is unwell. He's on his final days or something. but that's how passionate I am about basketball and these Orlando Magic.
Right. Yeah, I mean, hey, everybody's entitled to like what they like, and you're a big 1991 Orlando Magic guy, and I'm not gonna fault you for that. This is America.
This was your idea. You son of a
It
bitch.
was.
Don't
It was.
sandbag me now.
I am not sandbagging you, but I have not had quite the.
He
passion
just
I've
brought
had
you
for
on this show to make fun of you.
Like, look at this retard.
Look at this asshole.
Well, I thought we were gonna make fun of Clemmer a lot and stuff like that, and
I am. I'm talking about the moves he made. God damn it.
I mean more about like the physical movements he's making.
Well,
and
tell me.
how
I don't
weird he
pick up on
looks.
those. Describe them to
I
me if you
see,
could.
I see. Well, he's just flailing about a lot, and the lights are going off, and different things. Those are the things I find entertaining about the stream, and just how into it he is. So for me, seeing him really into it is what I like. I like he's going in, he's checking the trades, he's doing free agency, he's going through every little thing, and that's kind of what I like. But to each their own.
Absolutely. I do enjoy I guess when they get a subscriber, there's a message that says out loud, it says, "Thanks for the sub." And then Clemmer repeats, "Thanks for the sub." In the exact same tone. I always enjoy that. Yeah.
It cuts in every so often out of nowhere, and it's like a Jeff D'Lo phone call on the Kirk Minahan show. It just absolutely kills the flow, and then he goes,
"Sure.
Thanks for the sub."
Yes. Yeah, it's fun.
That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, Mike.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to be sorry.
I'm an X's and O's guy.
Yeah, I think that's just what it is.
Yeah.
So, I heard that he's gonna have Bobby Costa do the national anthem, so I thought that was a pretty good idea.
I heard that Orlando's getting the All-Star game this year, so that's big.
Mm-hmm.
Feels a little like I don't know. I think there's a song Bobby Costa's a little more known for. That'd be nice. Maybe that could be the pregame show or something.
Yeah.
Feels like he's limiting him by just pushing him to the national anthem.
That's true. Actually, you gotta let him be him.
Let him shine. Yeah.
He also so this is what we're working with this season, right? He's assembled this team: Jason Kidd, Petravic, Grant Hill, Zoe, and Shaq.
Yes.
To me, that looks like a super team. I don't know about you, but to me, that's pretty dang close to a super team. All those guys are young, but I mean, they gotta do some damage.
And the bench is very good this year. Van Exel's improved. Charles Oakley, as I mentioned, is very good. John Sally's been the heart and soul of this team for several years now. So as much as I have been critical of Clemmer, I think he's really assembled quite a squad. I think you got to hold these guys' feet to the fire, because you see a lot of the media kissing his ass. And I don't like that, because I think it breeds complacency. I think people do have to scrutinize a lot of these moves. But if I'm being completely honest, I do think he's assembled a nice squad here. But here's what he's done again, Brando, is now expectations are very high. And if he falls short again, then I don't know what we do. And by the way, can we get into Herman Floyd? Are you aware of this controversy?
I'm not sure about the controversy. Isn't Herman Floyd his character's name in the game?
That was revealed.
As the GM.
That was the most shocking reveal I've seen since The Usual Suspects. My jaw hit the floor, Brando.
I thought you were going to go Elias, but that's
a good one. Yes, that's perfect. Since Elias, I have not been so shocked as they find out that Clemmer is going under the alias Herman Floyd. And then you start poking around, and you hear Herman Floyd has ties to a young businessman named Jeff Epstein and things like that. You wonder what that leads to. So Herman Floyd could be running all over Orlando, writing checks that Chris Clemmer isn't able to cash.
Right. And John, can you please actually just read the private chat? I don't know what you're doing back there as a producer.
Brando's sending to him, "This guy is unhinged. Get him off."
I'm like, call like the friggin' suicide hotline, and I think this guy's going off.
This man's unwell. It is.
What do you need?
I forget.
Did you see the private chat, John?
I am reading it now.
I'm gonna have to pop to my phone in a couple of minutes, so I'll let you pop in with Mike. Let him rant for 10, 15, 20
Oh,
minutes.
no.
And then
10 or 20 minutes?
Phone.
I thought we were going to be done soon.
No, we will, Mike. But I just have to pop to my phone before this dies. Unless we wrap up.
Why don't you just Why don't you just go onto your phone right now while you're on here, and then we'll switch you over.
Over there, but all right, I'll do that. Go ahead, Mike. You got a couple more minutes.
All right.
I forget that probably most of the people in the chat right now haven't seen or heard from me in weeks, and then they hear this.
Yeah,
I did forget
about you. Kurt couldn't come back sooner.
I forget that the last time they saw me was like, all right, see you in 6 weeks, gang. And then I did this.
Keith Van Horn didn't do shit.
Well, I have another Lucas rant prepared, but I don't want Brando
Lucas. Is that the coach's name that he created, or because that name is just gold?
Not created. So in this league, I believe what happens is I don't think they have the rights to every player.
Oh, gotcha.
Because it might have been before this was in certain collective bargaining agreements and stuff.
Yeah.
So like Charles Barkley isn't in the game, for example.
Yeah. Like Jordan and stuff won't be in the game.
Yeah, so they may. So like, you get that in like with when Belichick is NE coach in Madden.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Wide receiver number 81.
Right, exactly.
There you go, Brando. Now you're back.
Much better.
Much better.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Rip it off. There.
Uh-oh.
All right, Mikey, where were we?
Oh, okay. You tell me, buddy. Anything else you want to talk about?
Let me check my my little notebook here, the Brando classic notebook. We traded away Steve Kerr.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Well, Donald Hodge back. That was cool.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Brando. That's another. I understand he's a fan favorite, but I look at things a little differently than maybe you do. I look at that as Clemmer wagged his finger at fans and said, Donald Hodge doesn't respect you. He doesn't like you. Donald Hodge wants nothing to do with you. That's what Chris Clemmer said. And then he brings Donald Hodge back. What do you think that's going to do in the locker room? This guy has always been a menace to Orlando. He pushed his way out of here. Clemmer, for some reason, comes crawling back to him multiple times, then announces to the fans, this guy's a piece of shit. We don't want him. And then when, it fit
that's true.
Cap space, Clemmer comes crawling back to him.
Yeah. It's kind of in the same vein as the Lucas thing where he says, Lucas is my guy. I'm never going away from Lucas. He's got a job next year. And he sees Phil Jackson out there, and he says, "Oh, wait a minute!
Yeah, good riddance, Lucas.
Stab this guy right in the back." And he blames the chat.
Now you're getting it, Brando.
The chat made me do it.
Now you're picking up what I'm putting down here. Now you're feeling me, and I'm glad you brought up Lucas again, because I put on my reporter hat this off season, and I did some digging. And I found out there's not been hide nor hair of Lucas in some months. There are reports of, he was possibly waiting tables. Some people, there are many rumors about what Lucas has been doing, some darker than others. So I asked Chris Clemmer, I said, what's going on with Lucas here? And he says, he's missing. That's too bad. And I said, how do you sleep at night knowing Lucas is out there after what you did to him? You guys stabbed him in the back. You made all sorts of promises. And by the way, Lucas, let's not forget, brought this team from 6 wins to 42 and the playoffs. True. And then was tossed out the door like Jazzy Jeff. Good riddance. See you later. Mm-hmm. And then the guy, maybe struggling from mental health issues or who knows, he goes missing. And Clemmer says, yeah, well, the guy messed up the office on his way out. So who cares about him? That's some real compassion, Meanwhile, he brings a wife beater like Jason Kidd in here. No problem. But Lucas, he has no empathy for. Upsetting, no?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Very troubling. I'm starting to get onto your page. Your passion is starting to transfer to me slowly but surely.
Good.
And I'm starting to, I was thinking Clemmer was doing an okay job, but now you're kind of convincing me that he's not doing maybe the greatest job. I mean, maybe maybe I see that 7-0 this year, and I'm like, oh, all right, everything's all peachy, like everything's all good. But
there's been a lot of questions unanswered, and 7-0 is great. But when things start to go bad, I think this Herman Floyd character is a ticking time bomb. By the way, I do think he's adopted. He started saying we are all Herman Floyd. I think that's to put some of Herman Floyd's potential allegations onto us. And that's what I really worry about.
Right. There's some lists that are going to come out or something.
I think so, yeah.
Let's see what else we got here. I kind of just wrote down his pickups. He picked up Oakley. We said that. McLeod, Campbell, those are bench guys.
Yeah.
The champagne thing, I think he's all at the beginning of the stream. He's talking about, oh, we're going to have this champagne. It's going to be on the table until we win a championship, and then we're cracking this baby.
He thought he was cracking it today. There's no doubt in my mind.
Right. And to me, I don't know if it was a champagne curse or what it was, but after he lost that series, I was just firing off like, we got to get rid of that champagne bottle. It kind of hurt just to look at it. I thought he had to get that thing just totally out of there. Just put it in another room or something. It
felt a lot like the Patriots dumping Gatorade on Gerard Mayo after week 1. In 20 years. That hasn't happened yet, but you know what I mean. Yeah, it felt very premature, like we were celebrating something that we weren't even close to. And that was evident obviously by them getting bounced in the first round.
He was riding very high, and then that first game lost, I think he got a little down. They came back in game 2, made it interesting. And then it wasn't particularly competitive in game 3 or 4. And it quickly became downtrodden from there.
And listen, that's not all on Clemmer. Of course, it's the boys in the court. It's Phil. There's plenty of blame to go around. Mm-hmm. But I think when things are good, Clemmer is a 10 out of 10 GM. And I think when things are bad, he's a true madman. That I worry about. I worry about the safety of the people in that office when things are going bad. He comes unglued.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be near him when the wheels start to come off. I wouldn't want to be in his radius.
I'll
just tell you that.
I got to tell you, for America's sake, we better hope the Orlando Magic win a championship because there's no telling what this man could do if he's brought to the edge.
I agree. I think I have to agree at this point for my own safety. So I gave a couple quick grades for the season that finished up at the beginning of the stream. I gave that a C-. I gave it a 70. He lost in the first round, but he hit his other goal of 50+ wins. I don't know where you were on that.
That's fair. I get very riled up about the playoffs, but then I forget 2 seasons earlier, this was a 6-win team. So you do have to remember that. So I was going to say D, but you might have convinced me. I think a C- is probably fair.
And then
he did to his credit, he did win Executive of the Year. So let's not forget that.
I mean, he brought him from the depths of 6 wins, and then that made him competitive. They're competing with some of the best teams in the league. I think everyone was feeling good going into today, and then we got shellacked.
Yeah, it was tough.
And for Phil Jackson, I gave him just a 76, which might be actually too high now that I kind of think of it. You bring him in to be the man. I think he might actually be closer to D territory for how they finish the season. What do you think? You think
I'll give Phil a B-. I think
what
he did. I think what he was doing with Nick Van Exel, that he obviously had a plan, as you see evident this year. I think Phil Jackson had a long-term plan with Nick Van Exel, and this looky-loo, this nudge, Clemmer, walks downstairs to the court and starts telling them how many minutes to play, like a overbearing little league dad, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think Phil Jackson had a lot to deal with. It's year one. And so, to get that team a number 2 seed, I'm going B- again with Phil, because I think he got the team where they needed to be in the regular season. It is a young team. We expected more in the playoffs, but I don't know if that was necessarily fair of Phil.
All right. Well, you kind of convinced me to stick closer to where I was at a C. Maybe I was being a little too harsh. I think he did an okay job. I'm interested to see what happens this year. I think it could go anywhere from it could be any grade from this season. If they just bomb out, I think he could easily be on the hot seat, and people could be, putting Lucas's name in the chat real quick. But if he does great,
if we can find him.
Clemmer's gonna look like a genius.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know what? Like these young kids, Hill and Kidd, may turn the season around immediately. Am I a little worried about having essentially an entire starting lineup of guys who are under 25? All of them, I think. That's right. That's a little worrisome, especially when we get deeper into the season. But maybe Shaq and Zoe now have. This is another thing that was unacceptable. When asked, they officially changed Alonzo Mourning to a power forward. When asked about that, they said, "Why didn't you do that earlier, Clemmer?" The media asks him that, and Clemmer says, "Because we didn't. There's no accountability here."
You didn't like that answer.
No.
You're a bit.
That's an answer. I'll tell you, Brando. That's an answer that someone with a little cachet can give. George Steinbrenner's giving me that answer. Fine, he's earned it. Herman Floyd is giving me that answer. Not on my watch.
No, Bill Belichick maybe.
Put a knee on this guy's neck if I have to.
Well, I don't know if. Continue. Yeah, I picked it up. I did pick it up.
All right, what are we wrapping this thing up, Brando? What do you say?
Yeah, we're pretty much wrapping this thing up. I think we I think the idea was decent. Most of it.
You're not a fan.
Mostly, this is the best show we've ever done on the network.
It might be the most work I've ever put into anything I've done, Brando.
I almost put a tweet that said, like, Mike cares about this more than he's ever cared about anything before the show even started. No, I'm saying more from my point of view because I screwed up with the mic, and I just had a bunch of technical issues. So it's not on you, Mike. I greatly appreciate the passion. I didn't quite expect it fully. I thought there might be some mockery of Clemmer and the whole thought in general, but I enjoy this. Well, did you hear him? This guy's a madman.
I can't believe he did this to you, Mike. This is fucked up.
I love him.
I said I'm going to give Brando 110%.
And he's like, appreciate it.
It's great. I came on here and Brenda's like, oh, jeez, all right. This guy really
psycho.
This loser really cares about the Magic, huh?
Stick to steel toe with this guy.
Even like the George Floyd joke.
All right.
I did.
Anything else you want to get?
I don't know.
By the way,
I hope I like it. I don't know how much I can like it.
I heard rumors. You bumped BA for me. I hope that's not true. Especially after
sorry. The mic. I think I missed your question there. I think the mic went out.
People were telling me you bumped BA for me. I hope that's not true. Is it?
Sorry, I think it's still choppy.
What mind games are you playing with me?
Mike, I don't know what he's doing, you man. Get out of here. He didn't bump BA for you. BA will be on tomorrow.
Okay, good. All right. Anything else?
I will have. So yeah.
Well.
Here, BA
I don't want to end on. Well, hold on there, ahead, wise guy. I don't want to end disappointing Brando. Is there any Minifan related stuff you guys wanted to talk about before we get out of here?
Brando.
John,
I heard
you got anything?
I heard Justin Cullinane. I saw. Well, I guess if you listen to the last 5 seconds of the show, fucking nothing was going on. Dave was enraged for some reason. So I guess there's not too much going on, but I didn't know if there's anything you wanted to talk about before we got out of here.
Well,
I got
when they're
I
not
got the
talking
only thing.
Brando, they got nothing to talk
Well, hey,
about.
sorry to bother you guys.
The only thing I got is them saying that
No,
we need to
them-
bring Mike
them
and the
today.
Minifans back. The only thing I got was them bringing Mike and the Minifans back. I would love
but
to bring it
isn't,
back. We gotta find a host.
Isn't what Menners has been doing? Isn't that pretty much replacing it, or no?
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. But Dave and Justin that's not enough for those two. They want
Wow.
more. I know.
They rule with an iron fist. Dave also said when I thought it was very funny when Kirk was in with them. Dave goes, "Yeah, some people have said we should have Mike on, but I don't know if I want to do that." I was like,
Yeah, that was fucked up. I heard that. Didn't look at you crazy.
I was like, "What the hell?" He's giving me the Brando treatment.
Reading a
Yeah, it's
95,
more of a
96
Brando.
almanac.
Yeah, it's more of a Brando Montante type of thing, Mikey. I'm sorry.
I understand. Maybe one day I'll get on there.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome, but I think they almost thought you were not about it, but like that they're like the show. You and Kirk and are like the show, so they don't want to. I don't know, spoil. It's the right word. Or what
You're
it
breaking
is.
up, buddy. I
This is
can't hear
the
anything you're saying.
craziest sentence ever. Yeah, it's breaking
I
up.
can't hear anything you're saying. I'm sorry,
I
buddy.
think we end this on a high note. Let's end
right.
this on a high note.
Well, guys, it's been magical.
Peace.